Welcome to Ask Earl Anything. This is a show where your questions make the show. Without your questions, I don't have a show. This is for June 2024. So, it's June 2024, and when I look back to 2018, June of 2018. That was the first time I hit 1,000 subscribers. And when I look at my YouTube journey, which really is, it says I started in 2006, but I really didn't start posting any videos of any kind of serious nature until 2017. My first 10 years of YouTube was pretty much nothing. Okay, it was mostly watching other guys do it. One day my wife said to me after watching a Terry Keating video, I've said this many times, you could do what he's doing in his basement talking about stuff. And that's where Ask Earl Anything kind of came from. That and my Drum Talk series, where I talk about equipment. And I give you my knowledge of cymbals and why I do certain things. But in 2018, January 2018, that was the beginning of my quest to get 1,000 subscribers because YouTube was changing the platform. YouTube continues to change the platform, and we never know where it's going and what it's going to do. And for many years here on YouTube, doing other people's music and drum covers, you risk being blocked, getting strikes, all kinds of stuff. I get videos every day now. I have videos every day that ask me if I want to share the revenue now with some of these artists, which is kind of a novel idea considering a couple of years back, most of these artists were blocking me for different things. So it's kind of a new world, YouTube. But in 2018, when I started in earnest towards 1,000 subscribers, at that point in time, it was get 1,000 subscribers, get 4,000 view hours, and then we'll let you monetize a video. Well, what's happened is I hit that 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 view hours pretty quick. And by July of 2018, I was monetizing videos. Now, don't make a lot of money on videos. If I created my own content or put up dog and cat videos, I don't know, I'd probably lose all you drummers, but I have enough to monetize my first cat video, and all I would need is one to go viral, and then all of a sudden it would be, I'd be off to the races making bank, right? Probably not. The viral video thing is harder and harder to get to, as we all know. Now, why am I talking about subscribers and talking about videos and talking about my journey? Because this June actually was last week. I guess it was before June. It was like May, somewhere in the middle of last week. By the way, I was on vacation last week. But in the middle of last week, I hit 9,000 subscribers. It just popped. Bing, 9,000 subscribers. So now I have attained another echelon. And truthfully, the next echelon is over 10,000 subscribers. Because when you hit 10,000 subscribers, I don't know what happens to you. I think you might get a plaque. No, that might have been in the old days. I don't think you get a plaque till you hit 1 million subscribers now. Even making 100,000 is not all that big a deal on YouTube anymore. But all that to be said, made 9,000 subscribers last week with little fanfare, and I thought I would just bring it up today on Ask Earl Anything. But I want to thank all of you that subscribe and watch my videos. As you know, I am a nut trying to put stuff out every day. Absolutely crazy. The last couple months, it's been harder and harder for me to create content on the weekends because I'm doing traveling for work, traveling for personal stuff. This week, I had week of vacation. I mean, I just got home. Today is Sunday, and I'm doing Ask Earl Anything. Got home last night. And if I didn't get home last night and I got home sometime today, I probably wouldn't be doing Ask Earl Anything until, I don't know, maybe the following Sunday or maybe not, because we got more stuff coming up this week. So there's a lot going on in my life. And with that being said, doing Ask Earl Anything or doing drum covers takes time. Takes my weekend hours, plus there's family and living life. So I want you all to know I'm having a life. This year's been a year of living more of a life. We're not in COVID anymore. In COVID is where I started getting crazy and posting one video a day. And It was after my son passed too, and it was just a thing for me to play and learn how to live again. So I started doing it. I don't make videos during the week. I only make them on the weekends, but I made a lot of videos on a weekend. And I've gotten pretty good at making videos pretty quickly on the weekends for most songs. Some of you might say, well, you're not that good. And I would say, yeah, you're right, I'm not that good. But I have improved. You look at the quality of my videos from the first videos I put up, the sound of them, the look of them, and the playing itself, I think my playing's gotten better. I think I've also, in retrospect, I look at my videos, I look at how I've tried to stay more true to the artists and the original drummer's intent of the song, even though I still don't get it exact. But I try to stay in the groove and stay in that pocket. There's a lot to be said for having your own personality. And the one thing I've learned after 48 plus years of playing drums is that if I don't play like myself, who am I playing like? Because I really can't copy anybody. I can emulate some of the things they do, and I have some of their licks in my vocabulary. But I will never be Steve Gadd or Jeff Porcaro or Jim Gordon or Jim Keltner. These are guys that I love watching play drums, or Ed Green or Rick Marotta. These are guys that have influenced me. So what am I getting when I do a drum video? Well, in a drum video, I'm showing you what I do with it. And I'm trying to figure out what's the next place to go with drum videos, because truthfully, I'm playing a lot, I've done a lot of videos, but I think some of you don't realize the nuances of the playing. This is what turns me on about doing drum videos, by the way, is that I get to watch and hear what I'm doing in retrospect to what the other drummer did. And I really get analytical when I'm doing things. Like, I just did a cover today, a Little Feat cover, and I realized I wasn't nailing all of Richie Hayward's stuff. But one thing I realized was that they were playing to a drum machine, and the drum machine was a bed of the track. So after I got done doing the track and I pulled the drums out, there were some missing holes. So I went back in and I just overdubbed a steady 16th note hi-hat, kind of similar to the drum machine. It was done after I did the video, not before. And just unintrusive 16th notes the whole time, nothing else. And it kind of added to the video. So my production's getting better because I know little tricks to make things feel more solid. I did a similar thing with Shaker Song by Spyro Gyra a couple months back, where I picked up a shaker. I said, this is Shaker Song. It's got to have a shaker on it. I can't pull the percussion out. I'm not going to go and layer tons of percussion, but let's put some shaker on it. Well, that shaker made the drum part more solid. And see, that's what you learn when you record a lot, or when you do these drum videos. You can learn what makes things work, what makes things not work, and how to fix them. And I think that that's what I've learned the most in the last 7 years. It's in my 7th year now, last 6+ years of doing drum covers on YouTube, is that there's so much to learn about why drummers did what they did, the way they played. I mean, if you listen to Al Jackson play, there's just a simplicity into his groove. Al Jackson Jr. from Stax. By the way, there's a great documentary on Stax Record on HBO right now. And I'm watching it. I'm digging it. It's very good. So if you guys get a chance to see it, it's like a 4-part series, a mini series on Stax. Definitely check it out. But Al Jackson Jr. is one of the most influential drummers of the 60s. When you talk about the drummers, Uriel Jones, from Motown, you got Hal Blaine, you got Earl Palmer, you got Al Jackson Jr., you got Roger Hawkins, you got Bernard Purdie. I mean, these are the names that keep coming up over and over again. And then the next wave of guys came in, the Jim Gordons and the Jeff Porcaros and the Steve Gadds and the Rick Marotas. And I'm sure I left out the Herb Lavelles and from New York, and forget about Buddy Harman in Nashville. I mean, and Larry London being in the next wave. So there's so many great drummers to listen to and learn from. So what I'm thinking about doing with drum covers eventually is doing a drum cover and then doing an analytical video of what I played and why I played and what I heard and some of the techniques I used to get the sound for the video. So if you guys see a video I do and you thought it was good and you really like the way it is and you think it's pretty true to the original, leave a comment on this video or that video, and maybe I'll start going back and doing some analytical videos of some of these covers. Now, of course, that is not monetizable content. I'm doing it for you guys because if you think it's something that makes sense to do and would help you in learning how to play these songs, then it might be a worthwhile way to go about changing my content up a little bit and also putting some teaching into it. And that's where I like to eventually go with some of this, is teach. But how I teach is I teach about listening. I teach how to listen, and I can show you rudiments, and I can show you reading and all that kind of stuff. But really what I think I bring is, how do we get a good groove? What is a good groove? You know, that's what I'm interested in. So anyhow, with that being said, I'm riffing today, but 9,000 subscribers. So I'm trying to change things up, get there to 10,000 someday, and stay in this game. One thing that's going to stay is Ask Earl Anything, and Ask Earl Anything continues to be a show everybody wants to see. So thank you all, those 200 or 300 people that liked it, or it's probably less than 100 people that watch Ask Earl Anything, but you're very faithful, so thank you. Takes a couple sittings to watch Ask Earl Anything. All right, I had a couple other interesting things come up. I did talk a little bit about, I think, a second ago, about how YouTube is changing. One of the places they've changed is in sharing revenue with you. Now, I don't know what that means. They do this for shorts. They share revenue. I'm definitely not getting rich on any of the shorts I've done. But now when you do a drum cover, sometimes they'll come up and they'll say, do you want to monetize it? Do you want to share revenue with the artist? So if you get that option, choose it. I'm also finding that I'm getting emails from videos where maybe they've automatically shared revenue with it, you know, for some reason, or because I don't remember turning these on for these artists. These were a couple years back. And I get an email from YouTube saying, oh, you can no longer share revenue with this artist on this video. And I'm thinking to myself, why are they sending me an email about a video I didn't monetize, never monetized? Did they monetize it for me? Which brings me to the question to those of you in the community, does YouTube do stuff behind the scenes and mess with our videos after we post things? This is a question I have for yesterday's video. Yesterday I did a premiere video of my grandson Asher playing a Parliament Funkadelic song called Give Up the Funk, Tear the Roof Off the Sucker. That's the name of the song. Asher just played a riff. He played one time through. I played one time through. I released mine. Put his video out as a premiere yesterday. I was driving from Nags Head, North Carolina to Lake Worth. That was 14 hours of driving. I got home and I looked at things this morning and I realized he had no comments and he had 60 views. And I'm thinking, well, you guys usually support Asher videos pretty well and you usually leave comments. So what's going on? Come to find out, YouTube turned off the comments for some reason. Don't know why. I've had a couple people say, well, maybe it's because it's a kid in the video. But I watched 11 Drums videos, Toby, and he's been putting them up since he was 11. And he posts in the real world, not in the made-for-kid videos. And, you know, Toby's a great player. He's posting videos. But I noticed one thing, he never has his face in the videos. So maybe that's part of it, and Asher's face was in the video, but Asher's face has been in other videos, nobody's done anything about it. So what's going on, YouTube? Did you basically turn my comments off? Was I supposed to call this video something else? I mean, you keep changing the rules. I don't know all the rules. I mean, I could find out I'm saying something bad, just saying something about God someday. I mean, who knows? I mean, the rules keep changing around here, so I wasn't aware of that rule. I hope I didn't do anything wrong. Anyhow, that being said, I just wanted to make sure you all realize that I did turn the comments on today, and they let me turn them on. So maybe it wasn't YouTube that did it. But I don't know why YouTube turned the comments off for that video, because I didn't do it. But then again, a couple weeks back, they just deleted all my descriptions. I don't put descriptions on most of my videos, almost all of my videos, and the descriptions were deleted. If it wasn't for having Jeff Metz on watching every video and telling me what I did wrong in my descriptions, which, by the way, I enjoy that banter, Jeff. If it wasn't for Jeff Metz doing that, I wouldn't have known that your video, my video had no description. That meant I had to go back and into Wikipedia and find some stuff to put in my videos. That was twice the work. YouTube caused it. I don't know why. They called it a glitch. Glitches happen. Anyhow, I got a bunch of questions. That's me ranting about YouTube today. 9,000 subscribers. Thank you all for being fit subscribers. Thank you all for watching. We'll keep going towards 10,000, whatever that means. Let's jump into some questions today. All right, my first question comes from my friend. This comes from my friend Jack Niles. Jack Niles is another follower of Ask Earl Anything, and he asked some, I think I might have two questions here, but I definitely have this one. First one is, how does the weight and brand of the cymbal affect the resonance of the cymbal and the sound of the cymbal's projection? That's a great question. I think the weight of the cymbal partially affects the pitch of the cymbal. I find that the bigger the cymbal is and the lighter the cymbal is, the darker the cymbal is. This is a good example. This is a Paiste 2002 Big Beat. It's about 2,300 grams and change, and it's got a darker sound for Paiste. Now, Paiste, it is the Paiste alloy, the B8 alloy, and a lot of B8 cymbals sound pretty brash. So when we talk about cymbal making, I mean, I'm not an expert on it by any stretch of the imagination. There are some guys that are good cymbal smiths that make custom cymbals now, and of course there's Paiste, Sabian, and Zildjian, and Meinl. But what I would say is that when I look at crash cymbals, I look for a lighter weight, even on the bigger ones in the weight class. So finding the right weight is going to affect how it projects out. I find that thinner cymbals for crashes, they sound nicer. Thicker cymbals may project out further and ring out further into the room because it's thicker, and you might be less likely to break it. But when it comes to a crash cymbal, I want a cymbal that's got has some projection, but also has some prettiness to it. I like crashes that open up and then get out. And you know, there's a kind of a fine line. So when it comes to B8 cymbals, I tend to go to thinner cymbals. I stay away from medium weight cymbals for me. Now, some guys like to play heavy metal and play through the cymbal like this. By the way, if you hit your cymbal like that through the cymbal, there's a good possibility you're going to start cracking your cymbal. Or if you take your cymbal and hit on the bow of the cymbal with the shank of your stick, like that, good chance you're going to break the cymbal. Crack it. When you hit the crash cymbal, glancing blow, it also helps the sound too. Because if you hit it really hard, it's just brash. Now, that is a good effect, and on a ride cymbal, you're going to get away with that hitting the shank or the shoulder of the stick on that as an effect, just like it is when you hit the bell. So there's no right or wrong way to ride on a cymbal. Where you run into problems with breaking cymbals is when you hit them the wrong way, direct hits and hard blows, you can break a cymbal. So is a heavier cymbal more resonant? It might be for a crash, like if you talk about a thicker crash, it may reach further into the room, but it isn't going to sound as pretty in front of you. So you have to find cymbals that work for you, what you're looking for. And what I have found is I stay with thin crashes or crashes in the Paiste weights. And crash is enough. I mean, This Paiste crash, I forget what it is. It's 1420. Was it 1442? 1442. I think, according to Terry Keating, that's almost the perfect weight for an 18-inch crash. Paiste 2002 is 1442. It's pretty darn close to the perfect number gram weight. This is, by the way, a great sounding cymbal. Love it. Now, my 16 over here is a thin, so it's thinner than a normal crash cymbal. I think I could have got away with a crash. But my giant beats, I've got one thin 18 that sounds beautiful. But it doesn't have the depth or the projection. It gets in and out. So the weight does affect the resonance. The size affects the resonance too. And what about the cymbal stand? Well, that's one of those questions a lot of guys are asking these days. I just saw a video of the guy who used to tour with Paul McCartney. His name is Chris Whitten. He toured with Paul McCartney in the 90s. He played with Edie Brickell and New Bohemians. That's where I remember seeing his name on a record first. That and Swing Out Sister from England. And he was a UK session drummer. Then he ended up going out on the road with Dire Straits. And then somewhere he got kind of lost. I don't know what he was doing any sessions at all after a while. But session things started to change in England before they ended up changing in LA, I think. But he's got these these big monster things on his cymbal stands that are supposed to resonate a cymbal. They're supposed to float the cymbal. I don't know. I think it's a little overkill. I think I saw Mapex trying to do that with tom arms not too long ago. I thought they were pretty ridiculous looking. Anything that's that big and heavy seems ridiculous to me. But I do know jazz guys that play a flat bass Ludwig stand or Tama Classic hardware, and they say the cymbals sound better than they do on a boom stand all choked up. And I think it might have to do with the lightness of the metal. Again, these are theories from guys like Peter Erskine, who I respect Peter Erskine. If he tells me, man, my cymbals sound better on this stand, I'm buying it for some reason. I bought a whole set of stands after, not for the resonance, but for the lightweightness so I don't break my back. But I think there might be some validity to it. I think the key with getting a cymbal to resonate is to not choke it with the top washer too much. Make sure it's loose enough so it has some wobble in it. That's pretty important. I mean, I went through a phase where I didn't have any nuts on my cymbals. I just put them on the stand and just let them fly. But I think it gets a little crazy sometimes. Except for China cymbals and splashes. I like to tighten them down. I don't know why. It's just my thing. I almost feel like you can't play a splash cymbal unless it's tight. By the way, I got a bunch of covers with splash cymbals coming out. I'm going to have some police covers coming out in July. I've already made the covers, by the way. I did them before I went on vacation. Don't ask me how. And I thought about putting them out because I was running out of content, but I said, no, I'm going to hold them for July. Even the one that wasn't on the list, I decided I was going to make it on the list. So I put that on the list. So I've got 3 covers for Sting Week in July with Kelly Cusimano, KM Can Drum, and Rich Raw Dog, which I like to wear his shirt. I'm not wearing it today. Those 2 guys are running another drum cover week for the drumming community. So I picked 3 Sting songs, Sting police songs. So it'll be interesting at best. But yeah, I think I answered your question, Jack, but you'll tell me if I did or didn't. I don't know. So, all right. I think I might have another question too. We'll see. The next question comes from Greg Oneoff. He basically asked me this question. It was based on the Captain and Tennille song I did. Question, maybe for Ask Earl Anything. When you play a song with repeating tidbits of tomtastic tomfoolery, like this one, it had a pattern on it, you know. It had a... something like that was going on. And he asked me, do the tidbits stay consistent throughout the song, or do they change the pattern up occasionally? Great question, Greg. And to be honest, on this song, the original drummer on this song was Ed Green. Oh, The Way I Want to Touch You by the Captain and Tennille. I did that a few weeks ago. The Way I Want to Touch You by the Captain and Tennille. Hal Blaine took credit for the whole album, by the way, in his book. Like, I played on the whole Captain and Tennille comeback album. Or actually, it wasn't a comeback album. It was the album that launched them. He played on Love Will Keep Us Together, but Ed Green played on this one song. And this one song, from what I've read about it, was probably one of the demos that got them the record deal. Ed Green went in the studio with the keyboard player, the Captain, and Daryl, whatever his name was, and he cut the part. And the part had a snare once in a while and some toms, and then it had a backbeat chorus section on it. And it was not consistent the whole time. It changed up, different verses and stuff changed up slightly. And it wasn't a consistent pattern like you would see in a church gig today. Most of the church gigs have certain tribal patterns, I call them. This was not totally consistent, but it was all in the same vibe of the song. So I tried to play it as close to what he was doing, but even I couldn't nail every particular tom hit. And I played my assimilation of what Ed Green played on that song. So it is my version of that. But I generally try to lock in a pattern. That's one of the tough things with some of the older songs is they don't always lock in a pattern. There's a little bit more looseness to it because the way they recorded. I was listening to an interview with Stuart Copeland, and he talked about how after they recorded a song and then they went on tour, that's when he really perfected his parts. When he was in the studio and they were jamming on the things, they laid down a drum part and they were in a jam. And they go, "Oh, that's the one. Let's keep that." And they kept the part. And sometimes it wasn't perfect. And Stu Copeland's going, "Hey, I'd like to fix this." They go, "No, it's perfect." And then they started laying stuff on it, and then it never gets changed, and it becomes the song. So drummers a lot of times will be the first one in, will make up stuff. And if you don't make it up simple enough and repetitive enough, the part becomes something else at different points. And sometimes that's cool, and sometimes it's not. And according to Stu Copeland, he wished he could have gone back and fixed some of his Police songs that he would fix eventually when they played them in concert, because it's not always going to be the same as the record, because the record had a little bit of inconsistency because you were still working out the parts yet. So it's kind of funny how drum parts go down a lot of times first, and being first in means you better get the part right. And that's why guys like Ed Green and Jeff Porcaro and J.R. Robinson, those guys were called in because they would replicate the part over and over again once they got it. But if you're working on a demo session or you're working on a, I think this was a demo session, by the way, that ended up being a hit record, by the way. I could be wrong. If Ed Green's out there, he can tell me differently. But it sounded like it was a demo session to me. Like they put this together and it just stuck. And because I watched some live videos of this with their live drummer, and he couldn't play it either. He kind of locked into his own little pattern thing, and it was way fast too. It was way too fast back then. But Ed's thing was more in the pocket, if you know what I mean. But yeah, sometimes you play exact and sometimes you don't. I think it's better for drummers to learn parts when things are kind of always like repetitive. But some of the best drum parts are not repetitive. So it's a lot harder to learn them that way. Anyhow, hope that makes some sense to you, Greg. Thanks. Good question, though. Thank you. Here's what I said on my comment. I said, I tried to follow the vibe of the original session drummer, which was Ed Green, which was not a consistent pattern throughout, but it was a similar pattern. I'll go into more depth on Ask Earl Anything. Thanks, Greg. So that's what I just said. Hopefully that worked. Right. The next question comes from my friend Jay Klein, and he's basically commenting on who can it be now men at work, and he asked the question, how many kits do you have set up at any one time? And then he has some more questions. And I said to him on the short answer, I have 2 kits set up. I have 2 fully functioning drum kits set up in my studio. This is Studio A, and I have Studio B. And Studio A is set up today with the Concert Tom kit. It used to be the Gretsch kit was always in here. Moved the Concert Tom kit in here for this last few months, and it's been actually probably been about almost 6 months I've had it in here. Sounds great. I get a lot of comments about how good it sounds in this room. This room does have the better preamps on the overheads and the kick and the snare. But that being said, the other room gets just as good a drum sounds, just going directly into my Presonus board, my StudioLive board, which is 24 by 4 by 2. I've had that for ever since I started doing YouTube. I've had that video. Ever since ever since I started doing YouTube, I have that StudioLive board. I got that the same time I was transitioning out of my job, and my friend Steve Dupree sold me that board for $400, which is totally worth every penny of it. But I have 2 rooms, 2 different kits. The next question you ask is, in that case, how do you determine which kit you want up? Is it based on the cover you're going to play, the planned cover you're going to play? And the answer to that question is yes. I picked my drum kits for the covers. I picked my snare drums for the covers. I picked my cymbals for the covers. I picked the style of drum kit set up for the drum cover I'm doing. This is kind of an all-purpose 70s vibe. I don't always set it up exactly like the drummer did, but I try to get the kind of sounds that the drummers were getting. Now, I will tell you a lot of 70s stuff was done on a single-headed 12, 13, 16 tom in studios all over the world. That was kind of the common sizes for a while there. Hal Blaine, of course, made the bigger kit more, made it his signature, let's put it that way. A lot of guys used different pieces of kits that were part of that monster kit. For many years, you had guys like, Jeff Porcaro using a 10-inch tom, concert tom with the 12, 13, 16. A lot of guys used 8, 10, 12, 13, 16 for a long time in the 70s. That was my first Ludwig kit, was that. So the concert tom vibe records well for that 70s music. By the 80s, you're using double-headed toms. For certain types of music, you need bigger kick drums. I try to get it as close as possible. That's why I don't do a lot of Led Zeppelin tunes, because I felt like Bonham's 26-inch kick drum is hard to replicate if you don't have one. But I've done some Bonham stuff on a smaller kick drum and got a bigger sound out of it, and it turned out okay. So there's a lot of manipulation you can do in the DAW, in the DAW, digital workstation, audio workstation, to get those sounds. But I tend to I look at my drum kits as playing a character, in a movie. So I try to set my drums up in a similar fashion to my favorite drummers as best I can. Sometimes it's my version of what I wanted them to do, too, by the way, especially when I play lots of toms. I know Jim Gordon played on a bunch of Carpenter's songs. I don't think he played a big kit, but he had a couple concert toms that he would add to his kit occasionally, besides the double-headed Camco kit that he was known for. So, it probably was not unlike him to not have a 10 or an 8 to 10, 12, 13, 16, or 14, whatever it was. So, I play a part. It's like an actor. I think drum covers are about acting, by the way. But getting the sound of the drums to be close to what's on the record is kind of what I go for. And I try to do as best I can. I'm not a fan of only double-headed toms or only single-headed toms. I like all drums. Matter of fact, I like playing rototoms sometimes. I love different snare drums for different things. So I'm constantly mixing and matching. And that's kind of what brings people to my channel, I think. When you see a different drum kit set up all the time, you kind of go, hey, what's he playing today? What's going on today? So I try to do that. So I hope that answers that question, Jay. But thank you for the question. Do really appreciate it. All right, my next question comes from Shamusin Wright, 5387. He said, hey, Earl, have you any thoughts on sizes that work well together. I have a 19-inch 2002 Crash. That's awesome. Wondering whether to go with another 17 or an 18-inch 2002. Now, when it comes to crash cymbals, I like to stay in the family. You know, I like to put Paistes with Paistes, Zildjians with Zildjians. There are occasionally times I change things. For years, I used to use a 505 with a Zildjian crash. For years, I did a 505 Paiste and a Zildjian crash, and a Zildjian ride and Paiste hi-hats. I have a set of Rude hi-hats that I used for years. They're actually keyhole. My Rudes got so much play during the 80s and 90s that and 2000s that they're keyholed. So I can mix with others, but since I've gotten spoiled. Since 2014, 15, I started buying cymbals and having complete sets of cymbal companies. So I have a complete set of Zildjians, I have a complete set of Sabians, and I've got a complete couple sets of Paistes now. So I like keeping similar cymbals together, but you can put the Paiste alloy, you know, dark energy ride with a 2002 crash, or a signature crash, or a 602 crash, you know, it wouldn't matter. Paistes are Paistes, Zildjians are Zildjians. I have become a Paiste guy, so you see a lot of Paistes on my kits. And I'm not much of a Zildjian guy, even though I got a nice set of Zildjians right now, some newer Zildjians that I just don't play that often. So I tend to be a little bit, I favor Paistes. Now, does it have to be 18s and 20s and can't be 18s and 19s? Heck no. Play an 18 and a 19 together. I used to have an 18 and a 19 together for years. I had a 17 and an 18 together for years. I've had 15s and 14s as crash cymbals. I have a 19-inch AAX crash. I have a 15-inch AAX crash. I like wide variety of cymbals. You know, my Paistes tend to be even sized. So I got a 20, an 18, and a 16. But if I had a 19, I'd throw a 19 in here. If I had a 17, I'd throw a 17 in here. Matter of fact, I'm looking for those. So one day I might buy one of those. That would be kind of cool. You know, that goes with another question at some point. So, yeah, mix and match. Have fun with it. See what fits your ear. That's the key. What fits your ear, what makes you tick. But yeah, don't a 2002 18-inch crash and a 19-inch crash would be great. You know, it'd be great to have a 15-inch crash. 15, 17, 19. Cool. Sounds a little different than everybody else because the 18s are very popular. 16s are popular. For a while there, it was 16s, 18s, and 20s for everything. 20-inch ride, 18-inch crash, 16-inch crash, 14-inch hi-hats. Today, there's options anxiety, I call it. You've got so many options for cymbals, for drums, for snares. It's off the chain. How much stuff do you need? By the way, I'm going to the Nashville Drum Show this year in Nashville in July. Hope to see some of you there. Just to look at all the options and all the vintage gear. So I love being around gear. Don't get me wrong. I love being around gear. But how much gear do you need? I don't know. I think 1011 snare drums is tops for me. I think I've downsized again. Gave a few to my grandson. So cymbals are different. I have a ton of cymbals. I did give him a set of Sabians though, my grandson. He got my more even sizes, by the way. I gave him, what did I give him? I gave him a 16-inch crash, my 13-inch hi-hats. So I don't have any Sabian hi-hats. He has my Sabian set of hi-hats. And a 20-inch medium ride, HH, 16-inch HH. So he's got a ride and a crash and a set of hi-hats for me. But I still have my 19 and my 19-inch ride, 19-inch crash, 18-inch crash ride, 17-inch crash that go very well with Zildjian new beat hi-hats. So I have a set of those that I can use with the Sabians. And I got a bunch of other stuff, a bunch of splashes and things. All that to say is, whatever works for you, man. Yeah, and if you want to put a 16 and a 20 together, it works. I mean, there's nothing. Sweet. 16 works with the 18. 18 works with the 20. Or the 22. This is a wicked crash, by the way. You can crash the heck out of this 22-inch ride. Nothing's off limits. That's the rules. The rules are nothing's off limits. Play what you want to play. But yeah, very cool. Thanks for the question. Got another question from Jack Niles. Jack Niles wrote this on Right Down the Line by Gary Rafferty. He said, what use case are best for the most popular Ludwig snare drums? Black Beauty, Superphonic, Acrylites. What snares should be used in each situation for jazz, rock, blues, classical, studio, live performance? Just wondering your experience and perspective. What your point of view is. Okay, Jack, I have a love of Black Beauties, by the way, and I can use this 5x14 Black Beauty on a jazz gig. I can use it on a church gig. I can use it on a 70s tune. I can use it on an 80s tune. This 5x14 Black Beauty can be used on anything. But so can that Acrylite. It can be used on just about anything. Matter of fact, I love metal snare drums. I have a cast aluminum snare drum by DMR Custom Drums that is like the cast aluminum Gretsch drum. That is like a Superphonic on steroids. Great snare drum. So a 6.5x14 cast aluminum drum sounds like a 6.5x14 Superphonic on steroids. It's got a little bit more girth to it for some reason because it's a thick shell, 3mm shell. When it comes to Ludwig, you know, if you want to be bottom-like, you put up the 6.5x14 Superphonic up. But if you want to be bottom-like, you can also pull out the Black Beauty 6.5x14 and get it in the ballpark. But Bonham didn't play that. He played the Ludwig. He played that snare drum. I think the Ludwig aluminum snare drums are great snare drums. But there are a lot of chrome over brass snare drums that are just incredible, like a Rogers Dynasonic, chrome over brass, or the Slayerland Gene Krupa drum, you know, it's chrome over brass, different sound. Or my Gretsch, I use this. I have a Gretsch Lightning throw off snare drum, 5x14 chrome over brass. That brass is heavier, probably because of the die cast tubes too, but it's heavier than my Black Beauty. But the Black Beauty's got a sweet spot. I love using the Black Beauty on all kinds of music. I can use that 6.5x14 Black Beauty on all kinds of music. So I really think it comes down to what sound you're looking for. Now, what I do in my studio is I have certain drums tuned for certain things. Like when I want a deep snare drum, I usually go to my DMR 7x14 solid walnut drum. I'll pull that out. But I can just as easily detune the Black Beauty 6.5x14 or detune the DMR cast aluminum. Or I can go to my brass Black Magic 8x14 Ludwig drum, which is huge. By the way, if you crank that drum up, it is huge, just a higher pitch. So the tuning range of good snare drums is incredible. It really comes down to the timbre you're looking for a track. Sometimes I want a wood drum because I want that wood crack. I pull out the Noble Cooley for that. If I need that more metal sound, I tend to go to this Black Beauty 5x14. But a couple years back, I told my wife I need a 6.5x14 Black Beauty, and I got it for Christmas one year. It's about 3 years ago now. And I don't look back. I love that drum. The drum's a great drum. So which one do you use in which situation? It really comes down to your ear and what you like and how you tune it. I think the brass has got just a little bit of darkness to it that makes it a little bit more pleasant to my ear than a total aluminum drum. But I can't say I don't like the aluminum sound because I use it a lot. I just did a bunch of covers with the Acrylite. Sounds great. So, and the Acrylite is the poor man's Ludwig Superphonic. You know, it's just the poor man's drum. A friend of mine, Ken Burton, just handed it to me one day. He said, hey, I was at Salvation Army. I saw this, bought it for $20. It's all beat up. He said, here, you'll fix it up. You have fun with it. And I tore it apart and fixed it up and made it into the drum it is now. It's got die-cast hoops on the tops. think top and bottom, but definitely the top. I know it's got a die-cast tube on, and that drum cranks. By the way, you want to soup up a Superphonic? You put a die-cast tube on it. Die-cast tube on a Ludwig drum sounds really good, but it's nice to keep the triple flange for just the days you want that opened up sound. So you can do a lot with a snare drum and different heads. Oh my gosh, put different heads on things, and that changes everything up too. You put a big fat snare drum on something, and it changes it up. There's no rules to this. If you learn nothing from Ask Earl Anything, there are no rules to this game. They're just preferences. I have an affection for this drum. See, this is my baby. I like this drum, but I could put up the Acrolite and get a good sound out of it. It won't be the same sound, but I get a good sound out of it. And that's the point. Can you get a good sound out of the drum you're playing? If you can get a good sound out of the drum you're playing and make it work, you can make it work. I can get this drum with a ring on it to sound like a Superphonic, no problem. It's just got a little different character because it's Black Beauty, and I like it. And that's the reason I use it a lot, because I like it a lot. But that Acrolite, another good drum to have. So, all right. Hope I answered that question. The answers to these questions are very subjective, as you all know. All right, another question is from my friend Tim Bragg. He goes by Drum Bragg. He said he hasn't watched some videos in a while. He says, I'm probably late to the party. This is on the Doobie Brothers Minute by Minute. Let me find the question in this whole thing. So I've come over here. There's so many songs I need to catch up on. This is a great song. You make great tune choices, so thank you. Well done. Probably late to the party, but not the butt end of your stick on the snare. So Tim's been a follower for a bunch of years. He knows I'm a big fan of the butt end of the stick. By the way, I like this drum with a ring on it these days because it just has that kind of pop I like. So I'll put the ring on it. He said, "You're not using the butt end of your stick? Why are you using the tip?" Well, a little over a year ago, I've probably been at this almost a year and a half now, I guess. Somebody said to me, your snare drum rolls sound a little wonky playing them with the butt end of the stick, and I agreed. I can make it work. That's the butt end of the stick. But it works better with the tip. And the point of the thing was, he said to me, if you play with both sticks the right way, you might get better rolls. And I started to realize he was right. I started to practice on the practice pad with the big sticks, not playing one with the butt, which is really out of whack when you're using a 3S on a pad, but using the tips. And I said, let's try to do it on the drums. And where I went to with my problem was, this is why I went to the butt end of the stick, had to do with the rim click. I think you get a better rim click with the back end of the stick. But I've been even working on doing the rim clicks with the front of the stick. Now, how do you get a consistent rim click? A friend of mine, Chadwick Perry, YouTuber, he was talking about rim clicks one day, and he said, this is the way you get a perfect rim click. Now, I was not of that opinion that was the perfect place for the rim click. I used to think the perfect place for the rim click was between the lugs, dead center. So It's the nodal point between the lugs, believe it or not. Like, if you got two lugs and you get the middle, that's the best place for the... I used to think. But something Chadwick said made me try his method, and I found out, no, he was right. You get a much more solid rim click if you put it right on the lug. So if I'm doing a rim click on the lug, it's a very consistent sound even with the tip. You can be a little sloppier with the back end of the stick. I think the back end of the stick, you can end up being a little sloppier and not be as placed on that rim, on that lug, but it can work, you know, on the lug just better. So, by the way, that went from lug to the middle of the rim, and the sound is not that bad. It's pretty good. I think if you do that same thing, I'll do two with the lug and two in the middle and see what happens. So I'm going back and forth. You can hear little inconsistencies. But I think for the most part, my rim clicks are good either way now, because I work pretty hard to get the sound. And that's a lot to do with my drum covers, is getting the sound of things right. How you hit the hi-hat, you know, how you play the rim clicks. I think that's what the studio guys know. If you talk to a studio pro, they know exactly where to hit the drum to get the right sound in the studio and get a consistent sound and peg the needle at the same place all the time. That's what studio guys are known for. They know how to get that stuff. So I've been working on getting my sound better. I have found my playing is a little bit better not playing the butt, but every once in a while I'll flip it over just for fun. The other thing I've been working on, Tim, is playing in the middle of the drum. Not playing on the rim. That's the other thing. So I get a more consistent sound when I play the middle of the drum. So difference between the middle of the drum and the rim. Now, they both have their effect. There's days when you want to go for rim shots, and trust me, I love rim shots. I've been a rim shot player for my whole life. So I'm relearning how to play things. And that's the whole thing here, is keep learning, keep relearning. So, all right. Thanks for the question, Tim. All right, next question. This comes from the tired drummer, Ken. He says, just wondering, have you made any changes to your lighting and cameras? I haven't been paying much attention to YouTube for a while, but looking at this video, it seems to have a very clear picture. I haven't made any changes to my cameras, really, except for I got this really cheap Vivitar camera from work. I had points I had to use, which is not really great. I don't think you've seen any of the videos with that, so I know you're not talking about that. My cameras are still iPhones. I've got two iPhone 10s and an iPhone 12. I have messed with the lighting. Why are the videos clearer? Maybe my lighting is getting better. I've been trying different lighting effects. Today you've got the yellow lights in the front, and off to the side I've also got some white lights over top, and I've got the flashing, Christmas lights. I keep playing with my videos. I keep playing with more lighting, different lighting. I think that's what makes things interesting, Ken. And I try to be interesting. I try not to stay in the same thing every day. I don't release the videos that I do one after another either, if you notice. I'll release a video from a month ago, then one that's yesterday, and then I'll go back to one a couple weeks ago. So you see different scenes because every day I sit down and play drums, I do different things to the lighting, and I mess with things, and I mess with camera angles. I'm constantly messing with the drums, the cymbals, the snares, the camera angles, and the sound to get the best sound for the video I'm playing. And I think that that's what makes my channel different than a lot of other drummers. A lot of drummers set their cameras up where they set them, have their lighting where their lighting is, and that's what they do. And it's good, and it's great. Maybe it's perfect. Mine could be very imperfect. But you know what's cool about it? It's different. And I think that's my signature. My signature is different. My signature is play lots of different music. I don't play one genre. I don't sit here and play 80s metal only. I could play 80s metal. Some have asked me to play some 80s metal. If I loved 80s metal, I'd be playing 80s metal, trust me. I don't love 80s metal. I do like 80s music. I like that West Coast sound. So I try to play some of that, but I'm not going to just play stuff to play stuff because people want me to, even though people ask me to play dumb songs sometimes, and I do. And then I find out they're cool songs because other people like them. And I don't let you know which ones are the dumb songs in my brain. I play them the best I possibly can as authentically as possible. So my channel is about difference and change, and my channel is about changing things up. I have not found the perfect lighting for this room. I have not found the perfect cameras. I'd like to get better. The more better I can get, the better the quality of the product is. But my most important thing is sound. Does it sound right? Does it feel right? Did I do a good job with it? If I did a good job on the sound and the feel, even if the video's not great, you guys will watch it. But if the video's great, but my sound stinks and my playing stinks, then you won't be watching it very long. So remember this when starting a YouTube channel. You don't need the most expensive gear. You just need good ears and you just try to dial in the visual as best you can. And I would say don't get stuck with one camera angle. If you have two cameras, keep moving them around. Never get stuck in one place. A lot of guys are stuck in one camera. They have like two. If they have three cameras, they're always in the same place. I'm into changing it up, man. Moving around the room someplace if you can too. Like this is where I record. This is where it sounds best. But just changing the setup changes the angles and stuff in this room. So something to think about, Ken. Anyhow, let me know what you think. All right. Lastly, my last question comes from my friend Jeff Metz. He asked the question. He said, "Love me some Ask Earl Anything." This was on my last video. It was from the Montreux Jazz Festival. Thank you for that information. He gets to the question. He says, "I have a question. You were talking about the expensive things. If you received $400 check to be used to purchase a new cymbal, which would it be? Thanks." Thank you, Jeff, for the question. $400 doesn't get you a lot today, Jeff. That's the problem. If I had an extra $400 hang around today, just $400, I probably would look for a crash cymbal. Probably a 19-inch 2002 or a 17-inch 2002 or a 15-inch 2002. By the way, these are all around somewhere under $300 or $300. When you get to $400, getting a ride cymbal becomes impossible unless you want to buy junk, which you know I only want to play the best, so I don't see a lot of ride cymbals. By the way, I paid around $300 for this one, and that other 2002 ride I paid somewhere around $310, $320. I didn't pay full price for. So if you get a deal, if I could get a deal on something for $400, I would. But if you said to me if I had $1,000 to buy a cymbal, I'd go buy like a $1,000 ride cymbal. The funny thing is, do I need a Modern Essential, Paiste Modern Essential ride? No, not really. I think I would go for a traditional ride. If I had like more than $400, I would go for a 22-inch medium light traditional ride with the script logo on it, used, as long as it's not dented up. By the way, the traditionals dent up like the signatures do. But yeah, probably a crash cymbal. $400 is a lot of money these days. The days of $400 being a lot of money are gone, Jeff. So I have to tell you that. So that's kind of that one. But yeah, what am I dreaming about is really what you're asking me. When it comes to drums right now and dreaming, I look at weird things. Like, I'd love to find a set of used Simmons pads that work, so I can hook them up to a brain and do something with a Simmons kind of sound, and do an 80s tune with Simmons drums. I look for old Simmons pads. Haven't found any yet that aren't way too much money. By the way, I'm not into buying to have something. I must have Simmons pads, so I'm going to spend a lot of money. I'm going to spend like $100 a pad, and it's not going to happen. I'd have to get a deal on something. That I am the deal guy. It's like that splash cymbal. $113 for that splash cymbal. It made sense. Paying $148 for the 12-inch splash cymbal, I would have been disappointed for that. $113 made sense. I should have picked up that little 6-inch rototom that was in there for $9 at Hawthorne Drum Shop. It was all beat up, but I could have fixed it up. I could have fixed the thing up and we would have been fine. See, that's what I look at. I look at what can I get that's going to add to it. I would love to find a 14x14 fiberglass floor tom. I'd actually like to find a 10x14 double-headed and a 8x12 double-headed fiberglass tom, and maybe a 16x16 floor tom. And if I had the 22-inch bass too, that'd be even better. Why? Because then I can mix and match some double-headed toms with the concert toms and still be in fiberglass land. Maybe someday. It's not important right now. If I really want double-headed toms, I put the Gretsch drums and I put the concert toms around it, which I could do, by the way. Really, the whole thing about drums today for me is it is a fantasy. It's what you need and what you want. But for me, I don't want that much anymore. I've become a person that wants a lot less than I used to want. I want a lot less. What I really want is world peace. I like to have civility in our land. I'd like to have my son back. That'd be awesome if I could get that. That's not going to happen. None of the things I just said are going to happen, by the way. We are living in some very strange times. So, with that being said, having a lot of stuff is fun, and I love talking about stuff and gear, but what's really best is people. So I appreciate the people that are in my life, like all of you that stuck around to the end to watch that and to ask Earl Anything. Your questions make the show. Without questions, I don't have a show, but it's you people that watch my show that makes doing this show fun. Because otherwise, why would I sit here on a Sunday afternoon and talk to a camera? I do it for all of you. I do these drum covers every day for all of you because I value community and getting to know some of you. So if some of you want to talk someday, let me know. We'll find ways to do that. There's ways to reach out through my email address, earldrum@aol.com. And usually at that point, we can start a conversation. If I want to go further, I will send you my phone number and we can talk on the phone. I really enjoy the people I talk to on this that have come out of Ask Earl Anything. A bunch of you have, or on some of my drum covers. I really enjoy becoming friends with you and getting to know you and hearing you, because the drum hang is what Ask Earl Anything really is. It's a drum hang. And, one day I might see Jay Klein. I heard he's coming to Florida, so maybe one day he'll come down to the studio and we'll hang out. That's fun for me, is hanging out with drummers. Getting to know other drummers. I'm a guy who loves to hang out with drummers, professional drummers or guys that are just players, just want to play. So that's why I do this stuff. But if I had $400, I also need another China cymbal too. That's another thing I'm looking for. I'm looking for a 20-inch China. I really don't want another 18, even though I love Paiste Chinas. Anyhow, I just threw that out. Anyhow, that's it for Ask Earl Anything. Your questions make the show. Without your questions, I don't have a show. Please like and subscribe. Buy my merch. Like my videos. Share my videos. Share my videos. That's even better. So, thank you all. Have a great June, and we'll get back together in July. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.